All right. Well, hey guys. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
This is a little different. I haven't had, we've done marketing people in the past. Like during the pandemic, I had Jeff Knaus on for like a 10-minute Zoom thing. But other than that, it's usually like chefs or restaurant owners. I mean, we've had conversations before. You two are avid fans of restaurants and
I was going to
food.
say we're at-home chefs too, kind of, so I'm not sure if that counts, but
That counts for something. Yeah, for
amateur
sure.
baker over here.
Yeah, there you go. But I'm excited to have you on. We were just talking before I got started. We're starting this kind of 3-4 part series talking to people in advertising and marketing, specifically to kind of, most of our audience is restaurant owners. And so I wanted to put something out there for restaurant owners to give them a sense of like things that they could be doing better or things that they should be thinking about when it comes to advertising and marketing. Because we do a lot of social media for restaurants in the area and all the time. I mean, not even just with clients and like getting confused on, who does what and specializing in this area and that area. But I know I get calls from people like, they'll want to spend, $500 on this video, and that's it. They think that, just posting the video is it. I put it on Facebook, I'm done. I should
Just
get a
one
bunch
thing,
of
you're
customers.
good.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
the one size fits
Yeah.
all does not work when it comes to advertising. It's omni-channel for a reason.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell us, tell the listeners, viewers, but really tell me what it is you do, the name of your company, what you specialize in, yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Catherine Alton. I am a Central New York native. I originally did my undergraduate at St. John Fisher out in Rochester, and my master's is in international marketing management from Boston University. I've spent my entire career in marketing for various companies, a lot on the B2B side, more recently some on the B2C side as well, but have really perfected a lot of content creation, creating a brand, of course, too. And the last 3 years have been on our own, where with my now husband, James, and we've created Trading Up Media, which is a digital marketing agency, and combining our two skill sets, mine, which is being, again, the branding, content creation part of things, with James's specialty, and he'll get into that a little bit more too, but the digital advertising side. So we like to say that we help brands tell their story to their direct audience.
Cool.
Hi, I'm James. As Catherine said, she's my wife. I'm not a Central New York native. I'm originally from New York City, and I think this August I'll be here for 4 years now. I'm still acclimating to the difference in life and weather and just,
All the snow.
all this yesterday, yeah. But like I said, so I have a bachelor in fine arts and visual communication arts / TV and radio. So like my specialty is all things programmatic advertising, which is essentially like every time you go to a website, you see an ad floating around. And you're like, oh wow, how'd they know that I was interested in that? Like that's what I do. So I get those ads in front of people, and I think about the strategy behind it, because like anyone can show an ad on a website. It's about like the strategy, saying that I want to target X audience, plus where should I find them, what device, what time of day, what ad size. So like that's why I come in. I've been doing that for the last 16 years. I've done it for like giant news publications in the city and a plethora of startups. And before moving to Central New York, I was doing it in the auto business, and I decided to like not do that anymore and move here on a whim. And yeah.
What, let me ask, where did you two meet?
So we actually met when James moved up here for a job at Spincar.
Okay. I was wondering if,
So we did
if
meet
you were
at
in the
a
city and
work-
then you dragged him up, or how that worked. Because
If it was the other way around, he probably would have dragged me down. But.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we go to, yeah.
And my next question was going to be,
Yeah.
how did that happen? How did you get him up here? Because there's a few chefs in town who, they met their significant other. They were from Syracuse and they got dragged here.
So we actually met through work, basically.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So when did you start the company? When did you start your business?
We started it the month before the shutdown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a month before. We have another business. This one it's a smaller entity called like Robino Media, but it owns Trading Up Media. And we were thinking about doing like an enterprise level company where we focus on like larger clients and do like the HubSpot play, but we still wanted to keep our smaller agency, but just wanted to like branch out. And it was the month before the lockdown. We were sitting at our kitchen table doing all the paperwork with the lawyer, and then that following month, it was like, okay, the world ended. How do we adapt? How do we adjust? And, we really thought about a lot of things. We could have paused and like not moved forward, but we decided to say, you know what, hey, this is a great opportunity to show clients like how versatile we are. And like, it's adversity. I'm from New York City, so it's like, whatever. Like, I've seen it all. Like, doesn't bother me. The world ended. Cool. I'm used to living in 500 square feet in my little tiny apartment. Don't really want to go outside because it's dirty and it's just like too crowded. So I'm used to like being confined in like my little
It was actually
space.
a big opportunity too,
Yeah.
because like you said, the world shut down. People weren't going anywhere. So you had to be creative, and all brands had to. How do I reach these people? They're not going into their office anymore. They're not going to be looking at billboards down the street. So how do I actually reach those people? So these different digital channels came in very handy with a lot of our clients, that they were, even saying, we don't do trade shows anymore. How are we going to get in front of our audience? So thankfully, with James's skill set of being able to find those audiences, it was able to work out quite well for us.
Yeah. So we did a lot of like CRM targeting, which is essentially taking a person's email, uploading into a platform, anonymizing it so you don't know, but it's just like a hash number, and like just finding people that way while they were like just browsing the internet. For a lot of people, they've never worked at home before, so it's like a whole new world, and it's a discipline when you work at home. You can't have the TV on, number one, because you're not going to work, and you can't sit on the couch. You have to like have a dedicated space, because then you treat it as if you're at the office and you focus. And I realized early on, like, people are not going to do that, because it's like, free time, it's only 2 weeks, which turned into 2 years. But and initially we told a lot of the clients that we were working with, let's run TV commercials. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, people are at home for the first time, don't know what to do, and they're not working. So run TV commercials during certain hours of the day. And it's great. And then podcasts too. Like, what do you mean? Like, no one knows what to do. Like, they're not really working. No one's really forcing you to work, because it's just like no one is on certain times. So we did a lot of that. And we also did a lot of like blogging. We told all the clients who were blogs, just share things. Like, even if
Create
you're a B2B
content,
company,
be
just
educators.
share a recipe you made. I mean, banana bread was the one thing I think the whole world made. Don't ever want to eat banana bread again.
James has had it every single style,
Oh, really?
with chocolate chips, without. I got real creative.
Yeah. So
Banana muffins.
That's pretty funny. You weren't like making all the recipes that your clients were blogging about.
we shared some of them.
We did.
Yeah,
Did you?
I made gnocchi a lot. Yeah, which is a very labor-intensive process. I got real specific and bought a potato ricer.
Nice. Yeah,
Because I
that's
wanted
my
it
move.
fluffy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah, there is a recipe from Fabio Viviani that calls for no eggs and use Grana Padano cheese instead, which is kind of good. But if you don't do
Okay.
it just right, it
Yeah,
just
it's not gonna bind.
disintegrates.
Yeah.
I didn't make that too much during the pandemic, but I've made it plenty in the past. But I made a lot of pizza, a lot of sourdough bread.
Okay.
We got chickens for our backyard
nice.
and raised chickens for about a
Awesome.
year. Yeah. So, we definitely did a lot of those COVID things everybody else did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a student, because I teach at Casanova College, a video production course. And right now we're focusing on documentaries. And I have a student who's doing a documentary on the impact that backyard chicken farming had in the country during the pandemic. Because there's a bunch of people like getting salmonella in the southern
wow.
states because they were raising these chickens, but they were treating them like pets.
I could
Anyways,
see that.
yeah. All right. So, I mean, what was that like? Like, you're starting up, the month before COVID, and I mean, what were some of those challenges like when you were first getting started at a marketing media agency?
It was, I would say, like capital and just opening a bank account. That was a nightmare of a process, because like a lot of banks are just really stringent with like opening up even an account. Like some of the big name banks were like, no, you don't have enough experience. So we went through several startup banks, which was interesting process. We have one now that we really like. They've been good to us, but that I would say that just like the paperwork because everything was closed and it was just like, this is a nightmare. Like literally, like I'm sending everything in and oh, sorry, it's delayed. And it's like, come on, I just want to register my LLC.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, we've always worked from home pretty much. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we were used to that anyway. And being a digital marketing agency, most of our leads and everything come digitally. So, we personally didn't have to adjust to that,
Yeah.
which we were very thankful for. But then we could at least educate others who hadn't been used to that
Yeah, for sure.
to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, is there one area in obviously I know a lot of it's like targeting and and multimedia, especially like being able to target across different sources and platforms. But is there any like one area that you specialize in over another?
I would say it's strategy.
Yeah.
We do not say yes to everything. I have no qualm saying no. However, I will offer a solution which makes sense for your budget, your area of location, and the audience you want to target. Because when it comes to digital media, everyone thinks just go. It is not just go. It is like, okay, yes, you want to advertise. Great. Everyone does. But where are they going once they click on the ad? What's the landing page experience like? And then people say, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, I click on your ad. I go to a page. What do you want me to do? You have to spell this out for the audience because if you think about their time span is 1, 2, 3. If they don't have it in 3, they're gone. And they're moving on to the next thing and they're going to forget. And if you don't have retargeting up and running, they're never going to remember you because I can't tell you, I have like 40 tabs open. It kills my computer every day. My CPU is like, it's insane. It drives me crazy. But I'm not the only person that has 40 tabs open because like I'm going back and forth between different things. So it's just like being cognizant of that and then thinking about the time of day. Like nothing should run 24 hours straight. You should have a strategy. So if you're targeting B2B people, like if they're at home, you should go from like 8 to 12 because, that's when they're like most focused. But then from 12 to, maybe 5, do little podcasts. Maybe they're like, not really paying attention. It's background noise. And then, at night do commercials or do pre-roll. So
With
just
CTV,
because
you can reach them when they're on their couch, still doing work, still checking emails.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the one thing we specialize is like strategy. But then outside of that, it's content with Catherine, the HubSpot integration with Catherine, and myself with like reaching your audience where they are, not where you think they are. So a great example of that is like during the pandemic, all the B2B clients we talked to were like a bunch of startups, and they're like, I only want to target people on endemic content. I'm like, that's great, but people are at home, and at 3 o'clock, that's when the workday ends. Especially in the beginning in 2020, I was like, so target people on food recipe sites, and they're like, why? I was like, because they're thinking about what to cook because there's nothing else to do.
Right.
There's a family of people in a house. If you think about it, no one's ever spent that much time with their family or their significant other for that long. Like it was a wild time. It was just like, oh, we're seeing each other every day for the last 60 days. This is interesting. But that mindset helped a lot of the clients that we work with, like really like get in front of their audience, get to know them, engage them, and build that brand awareness that they were looking for. Because there's a product for everything. I don't know half the products that are out there, but like the products that I do find that tell me a story and that make me feel like I'm welcome and they actually want me to learn more before I buy, those are the brands that stick with me. And that's what we were trying to do for all the clients that we were working with, like during that time. And like they liked our strategy because it wasn't just like push your ads out. That does not work. There's a time and place for that, but in this case, we want to build
building a
strategy.
relationship essentially with your clients, and no matter what industry you're in, it's all the same. Building that trust with them, and you do that through content. You do that through the experience that you provide. Like James said on the landing page, if they go to your website and it sucks, guess what? They're just going to bounce. They're going to try to find somewhere else to go. So that's all these things just kind of work together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's I've noticed. I think one thing I've seen a lot is the clients who they start with one thing, but then they feel like they want to grow into something bigger, but they have no idea how, and so they wind up just saying, "Well, make us look like that." But to get to that, you have the business, the restaurant has to have all of their website, and you have to have like frictionless buying or making a reservation or getting whatever it is that you're trying to sell. Or the content has to match the brand of the business once they get there. And a lot of times what I found is restaurants don't get that side of things. They just say, well, I want it to look or feel like this, but that's That's only like if your content just has that brand
Sure, that's
identification,
great,
your business
but
doesn't.
yeah, you need the infrastructure behind it. You need to have an understanding of, okay, well, do I have a CRM system? Do I have somewhere to put all these emails? How am I emailing people? How am I, how does this whole strategy come together essentially? So you're absolutely right. It is about building the infrastructure first, so then you can build up to that brand and have everything consistent and cohesive all together.
It's one of my favorite restaurants that I was fortunate to go to in New York City. The Modern, which it's a great 2-star Michelin star restaurant. Phenomenal, like the best time you'll have in your life, and it's just an experience that you don't get to do often, but when you do it, it's just like, wow, this is amazing. But like the way they like have their their social, it's like, yes, it's pretty pictures, but then like I get an email about, hey, this is a new dish and this is why we're creating this new dish. They tell you some of the things that are in the new dish, and the average person's like, oh wow, never thought about doing those things. It's like, granted, I can never make that at home. It'll take me like 5 ovens and like a staff of 30. But, in my head, I'm like, oh, wow, I never thought about it like that, And, it just, they build a brand where it's like, this is why you're experiencing food at its like finest state. It's beautiful. It's almost like a masterpiece where it's like, okay, wow.
Well, it's a part of the Museum of Modern Art too. So I mean that it does. It fits in with the whole brand, the whole identity, and that's how it just works so well. Of course, the food is delicious, and just the chefs that they have there, and just the experience that they have. But yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. It's the holistic picture, the holistic brand that they do. So it's every piece works together cohesively.
Right. Yeah, it's there's not many around here that do that.
It was DeFi, which we're sad is no longer here.
Yeah. Did they do a good job with their stuff?
They did.
They did, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I have food allergies, so for me, it's like,
oh yes, for that.
I emailed before, and like I emailed, and they asked me like additional questions. I'm allergic to all nuts, and they're like, how severe? I was like, oh, pretty much I got die. And they're like, okay, so this is what we can do for you. We're not going to tell you the menu because we don't know it yet. And I'm like, I know, I'm excited about that. But they said they'll make sure there's nothing around, and like they take the extra precautions, and they go about it, and they like let you know, and they just reaffirm, and like they constantly message me and told me like, okay, is this person still coming? I'm like, yes, I'm still coming. And they just like kept asking, and that was a great communication. Like just that whole experience. And like even their maitre d' was just like the coolest guy in the world. Like we just started talking about randomly about the snow. I don't know why. Every time we go to New York City, we find someone from Syracuse or from a snowy part of the world, and they were just talking about snow, which was really interesting. Yeah.
I loved Deefy when they were open, and unfortunately, it was Cody. Cody. When I first started to like discover a world of like food, and good food, I ran into Cody when he was the chef over at 11 Waters, and I heard I was at like a private dinner tasting menu that he had put together, and he was talking about this bread that he made with grains from this farm in Penyan, this farmer Klaus Martins, who's like world renowned for his farming practices, and he was like, we get our grains from there. And I had just finished Dan Barber's book where he's talking about Klaus Martins. I was like, holy hell. I was like, you know who that is?
It's so cool, just the different connections.
And then he opened up, Deefy with, Nick. And unfortunately, it was one of the, COVID tragedies was that restaurant going out. But up until they went out, I would say that was probably my favorite restaurant in Syracuse.
Yeah, it's just an experience. And I think that's what people need when it comes to like food. And it's just like one of those restaurants, they just involve everyone, because you can be sitting next to a stranger and then they're explaining the meal, and each person's bite is different. Everyone just looks around, and then you start talking about it, and they're just like,
and everybody has a different experience with it too.
And you meet new people.
Food,
And it's almost like communal sitting the way they used to do it, which I love. I'm a big fan of that, because I feel like that's how you get to know people, and that, you share a meal, then you make a friend, and then there's no problems that time you're eating, you're laughing, and you never know who you're going to meet. And coming from New York City, I'm just used to that. Like, at the meatball shop, it's communal seating. You just sit down and you just eat, and randomly don't even know the person. You're just having a good time. Oh, we're getting drinks after. Yeah. Like, I miss that vibe.
Yeah.
And that was the vibe, which was great. I mean,
Yeah, it was, I did really like it there. Yeah. Well, now I'm getting sad.
I know.
Amano's really good. I think Amano's probably my favorite restaurant right now. Eden is really solid. St. Urban's really amazing,
Yeah, that's on our bucket list.
Yeah, we need to go. That's on our list. We need to go to.
Yeah, St. Urban does a phenomenal job. I mean, that's the closest to fine. Well, it's the only real fine dining that exists. But I've been in there and sat next to a college kid in jeans and a hoodie, and then been in there another time and sat next to, a guy in like a 3-piece suit, and we were in there one night. I think the last time we were there was, Adam Weitzman and Boeheim walked in, and they were both dressed down as well. But so
Yeah.
you kind of see a whole wide mix of people there. But yeah, it's a phenomenal restaurant.
Yeah.
I hope Syracuse. I just don't think we can sustain too many of those places right now. Unfortunately, I think we're getting there. There's a lot of cool developments that are taking place in the city. New housing and build, things that are being built. But hopefully one day, hopefully soon we'll have
I know,
more of
because
that
we
stuff.
took the trip out to FLX Table in Geneva,
Yeah.
which was phenomenal.
How was that?
That was great.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of. Are they doing the communal dining still?
It
or-
is.
Yeah.
It is
Yep.
because we sat at a table. It was Catherine and I and a friend and a random food critic, which was really interesting. Like
it happened to
watching
be
him-
like a wine. There was
Yeah.
like some big wine convention going on that weekend, and he was
Yeah.
able to get reservations, so he sat with us.
He
And
was telling us a bunch of things. 'Cause
Yeah.
we always do the wine pairing or drink pairing with it because it just adds to the experience and you just get, taste wine you never had, and it's just like, wow. Because I tasted a port. I hate port because
Yeah.
it's too sweet. This port that we tried was like, wow, this is not cloyingly sweet. I can actually stomach this.
Yeah.
Versus like normally, it's like I will not drink this.
Yeah.
And we tried some brands. We have some new brands that we like, and we're trying to find some of those bottles. But now we are very cognizant of vintage because of one of our favorite sommeliers on like Bon Appetit. It's like, oh yeah, we bought a bottle of vintage champagne and it tastes like cork. Oh, because it was bad, and it was like, oh,
it wasn't stored right, or something.
Yeah.
Like, wait, we just spent all this money on something that
we thought.
can't
Yeah.
even consume. Awesome.
There are some, I forget his first name, Bates, I think is his last name, who owns FLX Table. He's a master sommelier. And they've got, he owns a few different restaurants out there in Geneva. But, so their wine programs. Insane.
Incredible.
So is St. Urban's. They've got the best in Syracuse without a question. There's the bar manager, and he's there on weekends behind the bar, if not every night. I forget his name. I'm just going to have him on the podcast in a couple months, I think. But he's an advanced sommelier at Eden. And their cocktail program is really amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, so there are some cool spots that are doing stuff like that, where it's not just, hey, here's a bunch of wine.
Yeah.
Which is fine too. Nothing wrong with that.
Right, yeah. And then I do have friends, Kassan Hill. I forget the name of his business, but him and his girlfriend are, Kassan, I think, is going for his master. I mean, I don't know what level he's at now, but eventually he's going to go for his master som. And they started a business where they'll do private parties of various like whiskey and bourbon tastings and wine pairings, but they do like a Nerf gun wine pairing night.
That's awesome.
So you get into like a Nerf war with all these people, and it's a wine pairing at the same time. So
That's like
Yeah.
that episode of
That's
Bob's Burger
hilarious.
almost, where they were on the train with the wine. They started throwing things. It was a food fight.
yeah, so there's some cool stuff. We just need a little bit more of it, but
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so let's play a little game. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to take the role of different owners of food and beverage businesses, and you are going to tell me how I should, the strategy, the brief, overview strategy of what I should do for my marketing.
Okay.
What do you say?
Awesome.
Sounds like a fun game.
You don't win anything unless you want to take a shot of Q's juice at the end, which you don't. But anyways, all right. So let's start with a brewery because I'm drinking this from Buried Acorn. So I own a local craft brewery, and I'm equally right now. I've been in business for 3 years. I'm equal wholesale and on-site sales. So I'm not leaning in one direction. Make my own beer, can it, keg it, all that kind of stuff. I have a distributor, so I don't direct sell. What should I be doing for my marketing?
I think the first thing I would ask is your website complying with all the rules and regulations to make that only people 21 plus can
Yeah.
go to your website? Is that something that's on your website? Is it age gated?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So after that, I would definitely want to see your traffic for the last 3 months and understand what have you done before? Have you tried marketing before?
I have, but it's just been me doing my own social media.
Have you tried anything besides social media?
So yes, I have. So one thing I did was I hired a company to do geofencing targeted ads around my competitors. And so what I used to do is I used to spend $3,000 a week to target my competitors with an ad for my brewery.
So with geofencing, just to like explain to you that tactic is used for, essentially finding people when they cross an invisible fence and like they're shown an ad.
Yeah.
That is not a tactic that should be used for like conquesting.
Okay.
Essentially what you were doing, and like to spend that much money, like the only thing you're doing is just showing your ad, and the return on that is not getting people back to your site to understand like your process of like, I fine tune each hop. I like rub it in my hand and smell it, make sure it smells hoppy. Like those are things that people need to know, especially when it comes to beer, because that's one of the beverages people take really seriously, and they want to like the quality, because like if you want cheap beer, you can drink like other beers that they sell in stores. But coming from Syracuse, the one thing I realized is that everyone likes local. It's like, yes, I want quality and I want it local, because if not, I can go to the 6-pack area and get, those brands that we all know. So that's definitely something that you should keep in mind with geofencing. It works when you're doing like events. So if it was like an SU game, like, hey, before you go to the game or after, or like the next, that's how geofencing should be used. It shouldn't be used to essentially just drive traffic. It should be used in addition. So doing geofencing, I would say, okay, do geofencing plus do audience targeting. People like, who buy some of the big brand beers, like target those people and let them know, hey, we're a small company, but this is how we make our beer, and this is like the process of it. Check us out. Like you need to like do more than just one tactic digitally, because if you think about the footprint in which each person uses, device. So like I have my phone, but most times I'm at my desk and I have 3 screens and I'm using my phone to check my email and doing my work on my computer. So just think about that as well, and then look at the areas in which people are coming to your site. So if you notice Syracuse is a big one, you can like run ads to Syracuse only, saying, hey Syracuse. If you see other like little areas, say, hey, certain area. But just think about like why people are coming to you, and like what are you offering them.
Is that website in the areas, is that something I can get with like just the GoDaddy simple plan that I have, or?
I would have to take a look and look at your website. Yeah, websites are always fun. So I would definitely look at your website and then like see what package you have, because like if you have the package where you can adjust based on location, great. But if not, like it's a feature that you can add on to your site, but it's something to consider. So it makes your site a little bit more personable, where it's not just like a generic, hey, here's my site. And then what you want to think about with geofencing too is like those people on the go. What do you want them to do when they go to your website?
Well, I hope that they just see an ad with my name on it, and then they think about me and come get a beer after they see the ad.
That's if you think
We're
about
marketers, not magicians.
yeah, if you think about how many ads the average person sees per day, I think it's like over 5,000 ads a day. Like your ads have to stand out, and like you're a beer distributor, beer maker, like you don't necessarily want to sell a beer. You want to sell like that, hey, I'm on my patio having a fire, drinking this beer. This beer is great. I know where they are. I can go back and go there. I can smell it. I can possibly take a tour. Like you're not necessarily
It sounds
selling.
cheesy, but you're selling the lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're selling the experience, not just the single beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Buried Acorn is definitely a great beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people need to know that.
Yes.
Okay. So, what's the next question I want to ask about that? We got to finish this game. So, what's the next question? So that's what I've done, and so I need to target specific people. I need to show more of like the lifestyle associated with having my product, and not just like show them an ad of my logo and address and hope that they show up afterwards.
Ideally, what you want to do is like capture their information so you can start emailing them and let them know like about all the new releases coming out, because I know beer is like there's seasonality and there's like different flavors. So definitely getting them to your site, signing up for the newsletter, like, and then just constantly following up. So you want to create that omni-channel. Like geofencing is great. Yeah, definitely can do it. I'm not a fan of conquesting because there's no need to do that.
Yeah.
Because that just takes away from your brand. It just looks like you're only focused on one thing, which is sales. Yes, I know sales are needed to like continue the growth, but you want people to come back to you. You want them to be like little referrals, like, hey, go tell everyone about my beer, and create a referral program. Like those are the things that you want to do as a brand versus just like trying to take business from another brand. I'm not a fan of that. Like I just don't think that works digitally. Right. That works for other verticals, but not when it comes to like what you're offering. So we just look at like, okay, let's look at your traffic for the last 3 months, see what you've done, see what channels are working, see what areas are like driving the most, see like how long people are staying, see what pages, and then start coming up with content that makes sense, and ultimately getting those emails so we can just, hey, new beer coming out this month, or like, exclusive event coming, like sign up, like make sure you're there. Like those are the things that you want, because then people remember, because next time they go like on a camping trip, I definitely need my 6-pack of this beer, like versus just in the moment, because that necessarily doesn't work, because you never know what that person was doing that day. You want to just brand and let them know I'm doing more than beer. Like, hey, making chicken wings this Super Bowl weekend, this beer goes great with buffalo wings, and just offering a lifestyle, like Catherine said, just like, hey, pair theirs, and
Yeah, making it relevant, making those connections, building that relationship with people.
Yeah.
A lot of it just goes in together.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever started to work for a client and then like realized somewhere along the way that like the internal aspects of their business did not align with what they wanted for their marketing? So like, for example, if I'm building this, great this great brand for them digitally, right? Everything looks wonderful. It's got this specific lifestyle, customer that I'm targeting. And then they get into the business and it looks completely different, or it doesn't hit on any of those things that I just put in the brand design. Have you ever ran into that where you're like, hey, we need to fix this before you can do this?
That's why we always ask, like, do you have a website? And what does your website look like? What is your website built on? Like, what's your infrastructure?
What other tools do you use? Are you using email marketing? Do you have a CRM system? Do you have any other system? So actually, that's one thing we do whenever we bring a new client on board. We actually have them fill out this entire onboarding guide and document. That
it drives some people crazy.
It does.
But,
Essentially giving them homework. And they're like, why do I have to fill this out? You should just be putting out ads or just doing this. But it's really important to get to know the in-depths of how the business runs, how things work, what the entire customer journey is like, what the entire experience is like too, both internally within the organization and then for the actual buyer too.
Yeah.
So that, those are conversations that we try to have right off the bat. But you're absolutely right. Sometimes we get into a campaign and all of a sudden there's like, hey, surprise.
Yeah, we
didn't
try to
run
avoid
as
those.
we'd planned, or we're changing this around. But
that's why we always ask the question, like, where do you want people to go? Because like what we don't want to do is do deceptive advertising, because then that'll be flagged on all the programmatic platforms. Because if it's this pretty picture and then you go back to the website and it's janky circa like 1996, that's gonna fail. And that's what we say, where are we going? And then if it's not ready, let's wait until the website's ready and then launch. What we can do in the interim is do some content play, build up anticipation. But, one thing we don't want to do is just take an ad, push it out, and to a page that doesn't make sense. Because if it doesn't make sense to me, and I've seen, I don't know how many websites in 16 years that I've been doing this, like, so I know what works, what doesn't work. And I know, like, the average person is just going to ignore it, and then they're going to get upset. And the worst thing that can happen is an upset person who you just lost.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to come back. They're not going to refer a friend, and they're just going to be very angry every time they see your brand. And that's
So I think that's a lot of
what
it
you
too,
want.
is managing expectations a little bit, and we always try to do that up front. I know I said it before, we're marketers, not magicians.
Right.
I think a lot of people have in their head, oh well, if I just do Facebook, if I just do this, all of a sudden we're going to be so busy and we're not going to know what to do with all the work or all the clients. But it's it doesn't work like that. So you have to be cognizant of that, and like James says, we always offer suggestions. Okay, well, this isn't going to work. However, we can try this tactic, or we can do a different way around this. So it's about kind of having different solutions to be able to resolve those issues.
And we make it relatable too, because one of the things that I've noticed too, like in a lot of companies that we've gone to, it's been like a older demographic who runs marketing, and they haven't really marketed digitally. They're not as savvy about it, and they'll be the first to admit that. And I'm just like, essentially, like I come in and I just say, like, what I'm going to do is like, have you ever gone to Amazon? They're like, yeah, I go there all the time. It's like, you ever notice, like, after you browse and you go on the internet, you see the same image that you just saw? And I was like, they're like, yes. I was like, well, that's what you're going to do. and then they understand. And it's like, it's important that, you drive people back to somewhere that, it gives them time to process. And if they don't process, then you retarget, and then you take them to that page where they can process. Because you got to think about it, like, we're all busy. Like, I don't really think about like clicking on an ad and like going through the process unless I want it. Sometimes I'm like, yes, right away, I know what I want. But then most of the time I'm like, I'll get back to this. And like a lot of people forget, and then that's when you can come in again, like later in the night, where you have like a branded piece of content that's like really wowing them, and say, oh yeah, that's right, let me go back. But then try to capture their emails, and then you can like email them and then just engage them that way, and just like, take them along the journey. Because if you think about it, like, there's no such thing as a sales funnel. That old way is like, okay, let's push everything through. It's actually like a flywheel, where it's, you have to attract attract people. You
Yeah.
have to engage them, because if you don't engage them, they're not going to stay attracted.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most thing that, as an advertiser and like as a brand, what you want to do is like you want to delight people. Like even if you're not selling them something, you're leaving them with a piece of information that they're like, wow.
And that's how you create those promoters, those
Yeah.
people that are like, I love this brand, I love this restaurant, you have to go try it out. So then they're doing the word of mouth marketing for you. That's your social proof. You have, these followers that will, go to the ends of the earth for you. And, and that's what you really want. So it's all about, like James said, the full flywheel, the full cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Before we go on to the next phase, you passed that phase. Good job. Congratulations. Moving on to round 2. But before that, the question is, can a restaurant have a sales funnel?
It's not a sales funnel. I would say a restaurant, I wouldn't call it a sales funnel, because then it just seems like you're just selling me food. Which
Right.
Yeah, I think it's more of the flywheel again,
it's a
because a
flywheel.
lot of times people will continue to go
Yeah.
back to your restaurant if they love it. Everybody has their favorite spots that they go to. I know we're always at 317. We love it
man,
there.
great example. 317 has like Donna. She's the staff there, and she knows our order. She always knows, like, I'm gonna do like the fish, whatever fish it is. We're gonna do the bottle of wine, and I'm gonna do cheesecake. I don't even have to tell her. It's just like I
It
know,
just automatically comes out.
and she just knows, and it's like that makes me want to go back every single time she talks to us. She's so much fun, and she just has like such great energy, and it's just one of those things. Like every time I go there, I'm like, all right, cool. I just know what I'm gonna get, and like I don't think I wouldn't call it a sales funnel. They just know their customer really well,
Right.
Yeah.
And like it's the same with the other staff too. They also know, oh hey, how's it going? We talk, and then other people who are like kind of newish there, and they're looking at the menu, and they're not used to such a limited menu. I love a limited menu, because then that just tells you that it's quality versus like, okay, if it's 5 pages, then we should go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're just, I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. And like, oh wow, have you tried everything here? Almost everything. And like then you start talking, then you start telling them, and it just becomes a great environment. And they always like answer questions that you may have, and they're very accommodating. So like that is a great experience with it. It's like they're keeping us in that flywheel where they know us, they know what we like, and
Yeah, even Salt City Coffee, we go there
every day.
every day, pretty much. We walk in, they already know they're already making James's order for him because they know he gets the same thing every day. I like to get a little wild and switch things up between my coffee and lattes, but no, it is. It's about the whole experience, and it is a funnel. And then we tell all of our friends we have, we've met there before, Anthony,
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
So we even bring clients there and business there too. So it is. It's not necessarily like the traditional sales funnel, but they do. They kind
I
of
would
have
call it like an
the flywheel.
engagement funnel.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
think that's more important when you go to a restaurant. Like you're already nervous because you don't know how it's going to taste, and unfortunately, some people still have that mindset. I could do it better. If that's the case, then you wouldn't be here. And like when you go to a restaurant, like it's about just getting out of your house. First of all, we haven't been out of our houses in so long, so it's like when you can get out of your house, it's like, yes, I can do adult things. I can meet new people. I can see someone besides my wife who I've seen for the last like 2 years. Like, and then but that engagement is like what makes a restaurant great, where they're like attentive, and like that's why Michelin star restaurants are so great. Like, and to prove it, like we went to the Modern like a couple weeks ago. I dropped my napkin on the floor on purpose. Within 2 seconds, they came and got me a new one, and it was like, that was faster than what I thought it would be. And just those level of details, just like, okay, what do you think? And then the sommelier telling us about like, oh, this is like the champagne, like, and then we found a bunch of new brands, and we started laughing because one of them was called the Liquid Farm, and I'm like, wow, we've never heard of that until this day, the Liquid Farm. And they had like a turnip on their bottle, and it was like, why is it turnip? Oh, they call themselves the Liquid Farm. It's like, oh my god, this is the greatest brand ever.
Yeah,
and
that's
it was
great.
like a really light rosé that wasn't sweet, but it was so good.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
and it was engagement, and
Yeah.
like, that's
Yeah.
what like that engagement is needed, because then you can like ask questions, and you can say like, oh wow, and then some restaurants take it a step further and like will give you like some of the ingredients that they use. They won't tell you how, which is great, because then you have to try to figure it out, and then when you come closer, it's like, oh wow.
Yeah,
now
we did that. Where was that? At 1833 in
Yeah.
Aurora.
Okay, yeah.
They had, what was it? It was a pea hummus,
Oh my
a
God,
green
it was so
pea hummus.
good.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
So like, is there any way? Do they have a recipe? So they came back. They actually went back to the chef, and they came out with a handwritten note of just the ingredients.
Yeah.
So
Oh, nice.
we still haven't figured out how to perfect it exactly like theirs.
Yeah. But it was
But,
with like a scallop
yeah.
dish, and it was so good.
Yeah,
it was just
it
like
was
the greatest thing
amazing.
ever. You never think of peas in that way. Most people just hate peas.
Yeah.
Catherine and I were just talking about this the other day. I was like, I love fish and chips and mashy peas. It's one of
Right.
my favorite things to eat. Like mashy
Yeah.
peas are good. I don't know why people don't like mashy peas. They're good.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I do like them. I think the only place in town that has them is the Fish Fryer, but yeah, they are good whenever I get them there. Yeah. Okay. All right. You ready for round two?
Yeah.
All right.
We're ready.
Round two is I am a small breakfast restaurant that just opened. I'm only open for breakfast. I'm open from 6 to 11 a.m. every single day, and I have 20 seats, and I offer takeout and delivery via Grubhub and DoorDash. So how should I market my business?
I would start with the same question, like, how have you been marketing your business?
So right now, my niece is a really, really talented TikToker, and she has 500 subscribers, which I know is a lot, and I want you to get too impressed with that, but she has 500 subscribers on TikTok. And she's also on Twitter sometimes, too. And anyways, she's 13, and she has a great cell phone, and she's been posting on Facebook and Instagram for us.
I would say to you something I tell every client when it comes to social media.
This is fun, by the way. This is a lot of fun.
This is, I mean, it's just, I have other thoughts on social media, but like for the most part, social media is great for the fact that, yeah, it's there, but I own a business and I don't use social media. Like I don't have a need to like look at vanity. And that's what I'm going to say. It's vanity because like literally social media is meant for you not to leave. It's scroll, scroll, scroll. Unless it's like puppies, beach, or like vacation, you're going to stop. Other than that, you're meant to scroll. And also something too, I tell a lot of clients that we work with, it's like, you can't take those 500 likes to the bank and say, hey, I want to deposit these 500 likes. I want to take out these 500 likes.
Yeah.
And if you take it a step further, if you think about those 500 likes, imagine if they each gave you $50. Wow. But they're not. So like, it's good to be on there to like have a presence, but like the ultimate presence is like, you know, your website and the actual location. Like there's a company that makes like really good pancakes in Brooklyn. They have a good social media. Only thing they do is just show pancakes, get you in the door. Like other than that, it's just to like drive you to their location. Like, definitely need it, but also start thinking about that mailing list because you only have 20 seats. Like people want to get there early. Yes, you have your regulars, and they're going to be upset if you like, you know, you start getting more people in there because then they have to wait. But then that's when you can control and like make sure you have like a good like reservation system. Like, and then how often are you pinging those people to let them know like things are filling up? You know, like are you communicating that to the people like so that. You know,
And thinking of the audience too, just social media wise, you're not going to reach everybody that is going to be your ideal persona to walk in the door. I mean, for a breakfast joint, you're looking at people who might be downtown in the area in the morning who are, you know, coming from work. They want to just have a breakfast meeting, something like that.
Right.
Of course, you know, after church crowd is huge and you might not be finding those people on social media, especially not on TikTok. Sure, you'll find your niece's friends, which is great, but you know, do they have jobs? Can they actually come and pay?
Yeah, but she has 500 followers on TikTok. I don't know if I told you
500.
that part. 500. Did I tell you that part?
That's pretty impressive.
Great, but those 500
pretty
people
impressive.
are not flocking to your location. Like what you want to do is get people to like come to your location, like come spend time with you, come understand why like you're a great breakfast place and why you're only open for breakfast because you perfected it. I mean, breakfast is important to a lot of people. You know, like they have certain thoughts on, you know, like the fluffiness of a pancake, the denseness of a waffle, the scramble of the egg. You know, those are important because if you think about it, it's breakfast. It's like that's one thing you gotta remember. If you have a bad breakfast, it messes up your whole day.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be happy. And then what you don't want is that to happen. Like what you want to focus on is like driving people there and producing the quality plates that you're known for. And I wouldn't say like, you know, social definitely get people to notice that you are, but you want to start thinking about like bringing them there via email, possibly doing blogs where you can like not give away a recipe, but like, hey, this is how we came up with this recipe. Like definitely show us like
and
how
just
you
the stories behind it
Yeah.
too. I mean, I think of my dad. He is a huge diner connoisseur.
Okay.
This man will drive to the ends of the earth to find the best diner, the best eggs, the fluffiest pancakes,
the best frittata.
the best frittata. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he loves going to all those places, and you know he would be the ideal persona. He would be the ideal customer to come in. So you know finding people like that where they are and not where you think they are. Which of course everybody thinks, oh, social media. Oh, everybody's on TikTok because I hear about it on my news.
Right.
You know, my niece is on it. She's got 500 followers.
No, you want to advertise.
But you want to advertise to the wider audience. You want to figure out who your audience is and be able to find them where they are.
And you definitely want to make them hungry before they go to bed. So you want to show ads at night that say, hey, we're open. And then just show like food and just drive back to your site and just, you know, blog and talk about like why you made this recipe, like why your pancakes are so fluffy. Because,
Yeah.
you know, pancakes are very serious. You can go really thin They can be fluffy, they can be dense, and then, you know, depending on the person, like, how do you like your pancakes? That's something that you could ask. You know, that could be your ad. How do you like your pancakes? And you can give them the option: thin, fluffy, dense, and then you can see the responses, and it'll be like something you can use to then say on social, hey, the results are in.
Or what's your favorite topping, even
Exactly.
too? I mean, that can get controversial. Some people like strawberries, some people like blueberries. I'm still a 5-year-old and like my chocolate chips.
Pretty funny. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to move on to round 3. I was going to throw in another in-betweener, but I think we're going to move on to round 3.
Okay.
This is a tough one. Okay. Actually, should we do? No, we'll stick with 3 rounds. All right. So round 3 is. Do I want to do this? Because this is going to be too easy for you. All right. So round 3 is. I own a restaurant, and we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's American food, cheeseburgers, and for lunch and dinner, and we've got chicken riggies and all that kind of stuff, right? So just pretty typical family restaurant in the area. Right now, I have an okay social media presence. We post on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. We have a small email list off of a website that we got for free on Wix. And but
Is that GDPR like required? Like, did you ask for permission to use that list? Because you can't just email people if you did not.
Yeah, you need their consent essentially
gross
to email
domestic
them.
product? Is that what you what?
It's part of the data regulations which are going around. Like, if you notice, like, Facebook has stopped like doing certain targeting, and so has Google AdWords. But essentially, it's like giving consent. So like you can't just email without saying prior that I'm going to use your email for.
Yes, I've opted in.
advertising.
I'm sure you
Yes.
see it a lot now. Yes, I'm actually opting into the emails.
Yeah, well, I know most of these people, so I'm sure that they gave me permission.
Well, with your email provider, like you can't just email because they're going to ask you to do that, and you have to answer yes or no, and you can't lie because if you lie, you can be fined or kicked off. And with recent rules and regulations, those fines are pretty steep. So with that list, I would definitely say okay, just start a new list. I mean, granted, you may know them, but you don't want to upset anyone, and you don't want to
Or
be
with a lot of
banned.
email providers, you can do opt-in lists too. So they'll actually send an email out and say, yes, I do want to get these.
Gotcha,
And then that way it's actually better off too. Your list is going to be cleaner. You'll see if any of these emails bounced, if they, wrote their email down wrong or anything like that, then you're not going to have a junky list. You're going to have nice, clean emails, nice, clean data to be able to reach people.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, aside from all that stuff, all right. So, we post on social media, and I have a photographer that comes in like once a year, and they take some pictures, and so it's okay, right? So, but I really want to take my restaurant to the next level. Like, we've been doing good, but I really want to bring us to the next level, and I've got $400 to spend on it a month. So, what should I do next?
I mean, for $400, I'm going to tell you that's not in our wheelhouse. However, I can give you some self-serve tools that you possibly could use, which will be something that you can do on your own at your pace and based on your comfort with your budget. I mean, you have to get really crafty, and you're going to have to spend some time doing this, and you'll understand why, you work with an agency, you pay a little bit more because you have to spend a lot of time. But I would try PPC. You could start with $100, but there's the caveat being you may go over that. There's just the nature of it. And then with the other, money, I would possibly look into doing more emailing so you can build that list out, so you can create more business when then you can increase your marketing budget.
Okay.
That's what I would do, because with $400 you're very limited in what you can do, and I don't want you to put that money one place and then you spend more than what you actually wanted to. I would definitely recommend just doing it on your own with PPC first, and then if you grow that budget, then reach back out. But that was where I would start.
Is PPC that bank over in Solomon?
It's Google pay-per-click.
Oh, okay.
So the Google search ads. So if people are searching, restaurant near me, burger around me, that's where you'll start showing up.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And then something you should also consider too, which is free. It's called Google My Business. So it's essentially an SEO tool. So, the search engine optimization. So whenever someone searches like burger near me, like you can put in certain keywords and it's just free SEO and it really helps your ranking. And also there's a feature where if you have a phone number and you want people to call, you can see how many calls are coming in based off of like the widget that's in the right rail whenever you're on a website.
Okay.
So like
And that's actually something you should be posting on regularly too. Google My Business. You think about, oh, I'm posting on Facebook already. I'm posting on Twitter. I'm doing Instagram. But you can actually post those on Google My Business too.
which is its version of social media.
It is.
But
Yeah.
it's better for your business because
Exactly.
essentially those are people looking for that versus on.
And Google sees that in their algorithms, and then that actually helps boost your own SEO too when they're searching for things. So that's going to be a huge bonus, and it's free.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, you all did very well in those 3 rounds, and I'm going to reward you with a bonus round.
Okay.
And the bonus
That's what we
round
win.
is, yes, that is your reward. You get to answer one more question. The bonus round is a local Instagrammer. I think that's what they call them. Whoever the person is, they sent me a direct message and said that they were a local celebrity influencer. And for $100, they would come in and
No
have
thanks.
a free.
Is the answer you should say. The influencers are not anything you should be worried about. Like you're creating engagement, like we just that engagement funnel. Like so you want people coming to your restaurant not because someone of a stature or status quo said so. Like that's not.
And then what happens if
something-
that influencer all of a sudden goes on some sort of rant of terrible things that they said? Do you want
Right.
to be associated with them?
Yeah.
that's not something you should want.
But they promised me that they were going to bring in a lot of business.
I mean, how are they quantifying this?
They said so.
That's great, but with any real agency you work at, you get a contract, you get a statement of work, and like you go over every single detail, and that money you can just keep and use it for something else. You can take your staff out, like instead of paying an influencer, which isn't really going to be the crowd you want, because essentially they're going to pay for traffic to then look at your post, because those looks are definitely great in helping you figure out and perfect your recipe that you created.
And like we said, you can't take likes, shares, comments to a bank. As great as they are, they're vanity metrics. They're maybe not people that are coming into the restaurant, but it's
You're just liking, and
it's good. It's fine. It's not a bad thing, but it's not actually money in the bank.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, you two. You did a great job. We can take shots of Q's juice now. Yeah. No. It's so from what I'm hearing is that it's really more about. It's more of a well-rounded approach, and so you need to be kind of firing on all cylinders and not just one specific
it's not a
thing.
one size fits all. That's like trying to wear gloves in central New York in a winter and no winter jacket. It's not going to work out well for you.
Yeah.
You're going to die. So essentially what you want to do is like you want to think, okay, yes, there are some people on social media, like, but then there aren't people who are on there. Like when it comes to burgers, people are very specific. Like I'm a big smash burger, really thin so it gets crusty, and that's my kind of burger. I don't like Joel and I, who like the owner of 317, just talked about this recently. I was like, I don't like toasted brioche bread. I don't know why. The butter.
Oh, this was very
I just like
controversial
it
conversation.
steamed, potato roll. Like that's my way to go. I
Yeah.
don't like American cheese because it's
Yeah.
just weird to me. I prefer cheddar on my smash burger, and but there's people like me too. It's almost. Burger eaters are like martini drinkers, very specific.
Yeah.
Some people like the thickness, some people like the thinness. Like the thinner, the better, because then it's like crunchy, and then you really can taste that flavor that built up, and it's just that look. It's slanted. It's the greatest thing in the world, and like you're not gonna find that on social. You can see those pictures, but when people search for things, they're very specific, and you just think about that. Like, and this is you're inviting someone almost into your home when you're cooking for them, because like we all know how to cook to a certain extent, but then when you go to a restaurant, you have expectations, and I think that's the phobia with a lot of restaurants. Like, gotta deal with the Yelpers who think they're food critics, and it's like, come on, like there's no need for some of the comments that are on there. It's silly. Like if you have a problem with a dish, you just tell the person, like just be honest and like just be respectful. Like that's the number one thing. Don't be rude, and just tell them like this is not what I like.
Right.
And then they'll figure it out. Like, and then that's good engagement where you can like have that rapport. Like I didn't necessarily like it, and it's like, okay, do you want me to make you something else? And do that. Like people need to not be afraid, but just be respectful. Don't be rude and like this is the worst thing I've eaten. Like then it's like, oh great. Like there's no need for that. And I think that's what a lot of restaurants fear. It's just like, oh great, they're gonna Yelp me. And it's like that it's so stressful because then one, they're cooking for people, and then like, you know, people have certain tastes and they want certain things, and you know, like a lot of us eat with our eyes. So like when something has height, it's like wow. And if the freshness, like, I mean, that's just how I eat because like I try not to eat too much meat. And I like vegetables. So like if there's vegetables on the menu, oh yeah. If there's kale on the menu, I'm eating it. I am getting excited. I don't know why I get excited.
I love me a good crispy Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, it is interesting being now, you know, a restaurant owner, and you know, I've known for years of doing, you know, managing social media for customers, is that if they tell me they had a crazy busy night, I'm expecting some negative review somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
And so now I kind of see it on this side where it's like, okay, we were just really busy, and like I'm now looking at Facebook and I'm in Where Syracuse Eats, or I'm on Yelp, and I'm like, oh, like kind of holding my breath.
But those are great conversations to have with a person. Like some people are just gonna be like adamant, no. But then some people are like, oh, great, you're getting back to me. That's an opportunity to like make a friend and get someone to like, you know, hey, sorry.
Yeah, to have that conversation.
It happens. It's like you're cooking at such high volume. At home, you're like, all right, 4 chicken breasts, there's 4 members of the family, done. But then when you're doing it over and then there's so many thoughts, and I don't think people realize that. And I think this is a great opportunity for restaurants because, like, I know in New York City there was a restaurant I used to go to all the time. Granted, I didn't eat dinner there all the time, but like I just would go there and hang out at the bar. But you know, they would like email people and say, hey, do you want to like observe the kitchen? And something I love and I miss. I love a chef's table where you can see everything that's happening. And you see how organized the line is, where they're just talking to each other without talking to each other. And like people need to understand that. Like it's a high volume because, you know, someone may want to refire and it's like, oh, great. How do I reprioritize this? At home, it's like, sorry, everyone, messed this up. You know, it's cool. It's just those people at home, but at a restaurant, and then there's a phone ringing, and there's so many elements, and people need to just like, take a second, things happen, like just, you know, but if you think about it, it's an experience too, because then you get to talk and you just like, you know, you laugh it off, you know, it's not the end of the world. A bad meal is not going to kill you. It's only going to make you like stronger because like you've gained a relationship. Yeah.
We did, I wanted to try and avoid, because, you know, I've seen so many negative reviews, you know, following those platforms for customers, and, you know, you see somebody leave a negative review and, you know, someone will usually say in there, well, did you ask to talk to the owner or whatever? So we give everybody a postcard. We do have them. We have 3 of them. They're color coded, so we know if it's their first visit, second visit, or third visit if they, you know, return the postcard, because each one comes with a 10% off a specific sandwich for the next visit.
Are you incentivizing it?
Yeah.
Are you capturing their email too, so you can make that a digital process where it's good?
So we are going a little old school. I put my on the front of the card, it says, "Thank you so much. You know, next time try this sandwich. We love it. Here's why. Here's 10% off when you bring the card in." On the back, it says, if you loved your meal, please leave us a review on one of these platforms. If there's anything we could have done different, here's the owner's cell phone number. Call or text them and let them know. And I had somebody, they drove a 2-hour round trip to get a sandwich last week.
Wow.
Asked us to prepare it in like deconstructed form, so when they got home, they could eat it and it would be good. And they called to say it was the best fucking chicken sandwich they've ever had, you know. And then
that's awesome.
A couple nights later, I had somebody text me, "Hey, we loved this, we loved that, we hated this sandwich." It's like, great. What do you think? You know, and sat there and was texting with them about what they wanted to see different.
See, but then that creates like an opportunity to engage and just like understand and like take it in, and then just say, okay, I could see where that's coming from. This is also applied to like the rest of the audience, and then you could take it even a step further and say, you know what? Hey, how about we like our next chicken sandwich? You become one of the testers,
right?
And then it's like that's such an experience. Like I used to work for a music company. Don't want to say which one, but you know they did something similar where they would invite people in and like listen to certain things and say, what do you think, and like how would you interact with this? And it was a great experience. And you know everyone got pizza, beer, and it's just like one of those things where you create an audience, you delight them, and that's what restaurants need to start doing again. Just like start delighting people, getting them excited. Where it's like, oh, go in here for dinner, because like you know I know growing up as a kid it was like Friday night's pizza night, greatest night of my life.
Yeah,
I got to eat 2 pieces of pizza with pepperoni and then go to sleep. Oh, full, great. Kind of create that same atmosphere where it's like, okay, this is our family night. This is like the dishes that we're doing. Like just bringing those elements back in where we like, you know, talk to people, where we like share a meal and, you know, we try something new. And I think a lot of people too, when they go out, they just try the same thing. I love trying new things. Like Catherine was not a fan of duck. But whenever we go out and there's duck on the menu at some of the places that we go, it's like we have to try it because it's just like one of those things that I don't want to cook at home because it's so messy and it's a lot of work. But it's always good because like
And
like,
it's still not my favorite, but I
good.
still try it, and it's good. Sometimes it's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll admit, I'm like, all right, that was good. I liked it.
Great duck is great duck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we order like probably 4 things. We always joke like this table's not big enough, and they look at us like we're crazy. Like we're gonna order like 4 things. It's like you want to try everything, and it's just like it's not enough time, and I can't order the whole, but I'm gonna order the 4 that I thought that we would like.
Life's too
Right.
short not to have good food.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think people need to do that and just like have those experiences. Like just when you go out to eat, it's always a good time. You never know what's gonna happen. The smoke alarm could go off, like the fire alarm could go off. Like who cares? It's just like a good time, and it's better than staying home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you can learn, like you can look at, because like every time we go out, I always think about like I want to make that at home. Some things I have.
Or like, oh, those flavors. I never thought of putting those together.
Like
It's-
we just did birria tacos 2 weeks ago. That was the most labor-intensive process of my
You
life.
made them?
We did.
Holy
Yes.
shit.
Yeah, I bought like from my favorite place, the Spice House. Bought all the spices, like rehydrated the peppers.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Next time we're just gonna go to a restaurant that
Yeah.
actually does that. It was amazing, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you use goat or did you use beef?
I use beef.
Okay.
Yeah, I know because like traditions like goat beef and like
Yeah.
it's parts of the animal that you normally wouldn't eat, but it's because it's like affordable and it's just it's a stew.
Yeah.
So it was still good. I mean, the next day and the next day after was like even better because
Right.
all the flavors melded together. But it was just like one of those things. It was like now I know why these cost so much because there's so
Yeah.
much. I had them in LA on a random taco truck, like
Yeah.
delicious. It's just one of those things, and then you think about it every time you go to a restaurant. Like, wow, now I see why they charge because this is hard.
Yeah. That was one of the few, if only, food trends that really hit Syracuse relatively quickly. I mean, I just opened up the fried chicken sandwich restaurant, which has been popular in Buffalo for the last 3 years. But burrito tacos hit like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Syracuse. So not everywhere, obviously, but a few places. But Carmelita's has the best in Syracuse.
I have to try it.
Yeah.
And they only make it some days, right? Like
Only on Saturday. Yeah.
only on Saturday.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Now you know.
It's-
Now you know why.
Yeah, it takes her 3 or 4 days to make them. But
That's
yeah.
what I was saying, Captain.
Exactly.
I wish I would have made it 3 days like prior because it took like 8 hours.
Yeah.
It was good, but then
The leftovers were
flavors
so much better.
develop,
Yeah.
and then that sauce, like that broth, is just like where it's at.
Yeah. Now, I will say Danny's Steaks just started doing a burrito cheesesteak.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So, yeah. So,
Have to try that too.
yeah, I know. So that kind of leads us into the final part. I thought this was going to be a short podcast. We're going over an hour. This is great.
It's food. It's
yeah.
something we love.
Exactly.
And so it's going to combine kind of two things that I think, can help local restaurants and breweries or bars or whomever. But we're going to be partnering together and, kind of talking about not only is Eat Local New York going to be now blogging specifically and putting focus on 10 places that I absolutely love that I'm going to every single month. And kind of releasing that list and talking about them and doing little features on them. But you all are also going to be, kind of contributing to those efforts and really kind of bringing a 1-2 punch to get a lot of eyeballs on that list of 10 places.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to like create like an advertising co-op for restaurants where everyone can chip in, and we essentially drive back to your site because you're the publisher, and then we start talking about some of the dishes, like start showing pictures of them because like I hate seeing like some of the photos because it's like, is it that dark in there or was there no flat? It just, we want to give restaurants a chance because I know a lot of restaurants are like just coming back and it's just very frustrating and just, just give them a chance to like showcase their dish and just share. And I think if restaurants started doing what they used to do, like just share, like this is my grandmother's recipe, like this is what we used to, and then it just makes you like nostalgic where you're like, you know what, I'm going to try this. And that's what we want to do. We want to help. We love restaurants. Like we go to New York City enough where we're just like, okay, we just love that experience. Because like a good restaurant is like a good restaurant. It's just something you talk about. We're still talking about this dish from the modern. It's called egg on egg on egg.
Yeah.
It was the greatest thing I've ever had in my life. I've never had eggs that many ways in one dish. And I loved it. Mm-hmm. And, we want to do that here where we just replicate that and just give people and restaurants a chance to communicate. And, let's not necessarily focus on those terrible reviews. And it's like, whatever. People are going to say whatever they want online. It's okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
unless it was the most heinous experience in the world and like, someone else witnessed it, like, come on, like, there's no need. Let's just focus on like the food and let's just be creative. And like, I think this will give like a lot of restaurant owners and chefs like a chance to create, because like everyone loves like, ooh, what's the special? Or like when you start hearing a special, you start hearing the ingredients, you get excited and it's like, it's really good. Like, no.
Right.
That's why I left 317. Don was like, you're going to love this. It's like, done.
Yeah.
Get the special. The fish special is
As
always
soon
gonna
as
be
she said
good.
there was
Yeah.
kale and quinoa in it, and I was like, yes, I want it. So,
Yeah.
that's what we want to do, and just like give restaurants a chance to like come back after the last 2 years of shutting down and just, have those experiences that they're used to and just get back to what they love doing, which is cooking and making people happy.
Right. And so for one side of it, it's going to be being able to talk about and showcase, those wonderful things that a restaurant or, brewery or, whatever is going to be doing, the awesome products that they have that we can feature. And on another aspect, and, that's for the consumers, and an aspect for the restaurant owners where they may not be able to afford $10,000 a month to one of them, one single restaurant, to really get in front of all of these people that could make a difference in their business. But this kind of co-op thing is going to be able to allow all of them to kind of come together and be seen by all these people. Because if you build this amazing dish, they will not always come.
No, it's not.
You need to showcase it. You need to be able to reach people that may not be on social media or that may not be following you.
Or may not know you exist.
Exactly.
There's
There's
that.
lots of people out there like that.
The idea kind of reminds me of like, in Brooklyn where I lived for a little bit, it was like the smorgasbord. And literally it was just like food trucks, people. It was a vibe. And, I miss that. I miss just going from, oh my God, there's a taco truck. I love beef tongue tacos.
Yeah.
They're so good. People think it's the crate, but it's so good. And if it's done right. And then if there's a cactus taco, yes, sign me up. And like I could get that, and then I could go over here and get like chicken parm and like, but it was good. It was like a smorgasbord of food, and that's how I like to eat. I like to get.
And you think of like Salt City here in Syracuse too, where you do have all these restaurants all in one place that you can try something different. So this is going to be kind of like a digital version of that, where of course the marketing is being done for you. Essentially, you chip in for it, and it's more affordable, like you said, where you do have that small amount per month versus having to try a new tactic at such a small budget. You're not going to reach anybody. So
we've talked about the budget, the three of us have in meetings, and you two have been great and gracious in keeping it very affordable for restaurants. What was I going to say with this? So I took that. So, like I said, you guys have been great about keeping it really inexpensive, affordable for restaurants. I should put it that way. I took the number, and if you're listening, you're a restaurant owner, you're interested in this, you can reach out to us. I'll put emails and the show notes and all that kind of stuff. But I took that number, and I took it on a 3-month basis, let's say, and I said, okay, if I ran a Facebook ad and I spent that amount of money, what is Facebook telling me their best case scenario of the amount of people that I could get in front of? And that number is really small. It's only like, 5,000 people over a 3-month period.
And that's why programmatic advertising is the greatest thing that has happened. And 16 years later, I still do it because you can find people where they are, not where you think they are. Meaning, like, again, I have my phone in my bag. I have like 2 laptops right now. And think about how people use devices. Like later tonight, I'm going to be working, but I'm not going to pay attention on like ads because I'm doing other things. But like on my connected television, I'm going to see an ad like, yep, I need to go there and go possibly buy that and put it in the cart, and then they'll email me and I'll like remember. Like that's the same experience that we want to create. It's just like people need to understand these things are here, and this is just
to build awareness, to just show what we have to offer. Syracuse has a lot to offer. We have some really amazing restaurants, so it's just a great way to showcase some of these wonderful things that I know a lot of people from Syracuse or at the area are always saying the negative things about it. The weather's crappy, this, that, it's a terrible place, but Syracuse really does have a lot of amazing things to offer, and so that's what we really want to do. We want to be able to showcase this and help a lot of the restaurants coming out who again may not have a huge budget, but when you start working together and putting things together, you can
and they
make
can
this
also
beautiful
too like
thing.
start working with each other and create like unique dishes that you can do like little private like, hey, test our new menu, like sort of select few, like those little things matter. Like I know, like in the city, I used to do that too. Like a restaurant, like, hey, try this new dish, and it would be like, oh my god, this is so, I got to try this before everyone else. But you know, those things matter where it's like you get to see the process, because I know some of the chefs need that like invigoration where it's like, you know, I want to create, and you know, this is the time to create, and just, you know, use ingredients, like just make
Do
it
something
fun.
different. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm really excited about it. Like I said, it's going to be a really unique opportunity for restaurants to, you know, really help them get their, you know, get themselves out in front of a lot of people, and kind of curate something special and give them a break by, you know, it's, I mean, it's just massive opportunity for them. So, well, thank you both for coming on the podcast. I can't appreciate it, spending all this time with me. I know you're very busy. And you both won the game, so congratulations. You can choose to claim the prize off camera if you'd prefer, but again, I don't think you'll want to. But we'll have all your contact information and everything, and any owners who are listening who want to, you know, get involved with this program, we'll have all that information in the show notes and on the website. So, all right. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.